The story of the Rahr Brewing Company of Oshkosh, Wisconsin begins in the German city of Wiesel on the Rhine River. The Rahr family had been brewing beer there for generations, but in 1847 Wilhelm Rahr left Germany and came to Manitowoc, Wisconsin. He established the Eagle Brewery and was soon followed to America by his nephews Henry, August, and Charles. The three Rahr brothers all spent time working at their uncle's brewery before setting out on their own. Henry Rahr went to Green Bay, where he established the Bellevue Brewery and later the Rahr Brewing Company of Green Bay. Charles Rahr fought in the Civil War, and when it was over, he and his brother August moved to Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And in 1865, the two brothers opened the City Brewery. The brewery was located on the shore of Lake Winnebago, at the end of a dirt road that would come to be known as Rahr Avenue. In the early 1880s, Charles Rahr assumed full ownership of the City Brewery, and he brought in his son Charlie Rahr as its new brewmaster. By the 1890s, the brewery was producing more than 2,000 barrels of beer annually, and in 1897, Charles Rahr retired, and his son Charlie took over the business. Charlie Rahr immediately began expanding the brewery, and in 1905, he renamed it the Rahr Brewing Company. In the early 1900s, the Rahr Brewing Company grew rapidly, and production jumped to over 12,000 barrels annually. The third generation of Rahrs was now working at the brewery, and in 1917, Charlie Rahr turned over ownership of the brewery to his three children, Blanche, Carl, and Lucille. But the fast growth came to an abrupt halt in 1920 with the onset of Prohibition. The Rahr Brewing Company survived by producing soft drinks. Rumors persist that the Rahr Brewing Company also made bootleg beer during Prohibition. Whether these rumors are true or not remains uncertain. When Prohibition came to an end in 1933, the Rahr Brewing Company resumed operation under the direction of Blanche and Carl Rahr. But the brother and sister team were facing an uphill battle. Rahr Brewing had relied heavily on the almost 24 taverns they owned, which sold only their beer. But in the wake of Prohibition, these taverns had been outlawed, and the Rahrs found themselves competing with breweries that could produce in a week what the Rahrs made in a year. But the Rahrs managed to stay alive, thanks largely to the reputation of their Elk's Head beer. Many considered the Rahr's lager to be the finest of any brewed in Oshkosh. By 1951, the fourth generation of Rahr brewers had entered the brewhouse, but Charles Rahr III would also be the last. By the 1950s, the Rahrs had found it increasingly difficult to compete with larger breweries in their hometown and beyond. And in 1956, the Rahr Brewing Company of Oshkosh closed after 91 years as a family-owned business. The buildings of the Rahr Brewery were demolished in 1964. Homes now stand where the Rahrs once made their lager beer, on the street that still bears the Rahr name.